Ahoy, ahoy. Welcome to Unveiled. What I'll do is kind of break a few pieces down, show you guys what some things sound like on their own, isolate some vocals, some drums, all that kind of stuff. Take you through some processing, what plugins I use, signal chains, all that kind of stuff. So let's just get right into it. This is what the song looks like. So not a whole lot going on, not a million tracks, very meat and potatoes. You will hear me use that term a lot because that's just the way I describe the music side of the band anyway, as well as the production. So before I get too far into this, I just want to make it known that I'm not pretending to be some fancy producer guy at all. Literally just do this for myself and a few other bands out of a bedroom, and self-taught. So there's things that if you are an experienced producer and you're watching me do certain things or something that I've done, and you call me an idiot, it's because I am. So if you think you know better than me, please let me know. Always like to learn. And that's not being sarcastic. For real. So yeah, let's just dive right into it. The beginning. So that's just these two here. I doubled it up, and by doubling I mean just recording the same thing twice. I don't copy that track and just put another one there. It's kind of pointless. Always, if I'm doubling something up, whether it be lead guitars or rhythm guitars or vocals, whenever I'm doubling something up, I always track it twice. So once the drums come in, once the whole band comes in, so to speak, this part here. This moment slowly fades away. The guitars, I add two more little clean guitar things in the background. Pretty dark, pretty eerie. That's kind of what I was going for. The bass guitar is literally just following the rhythm of the drums. Meat and potatoes. See? Vocals are in there, rather. I can just show you what those sound like. This moment slowly fades away. So, not a crazy amount of processing, but there's for sure some processing there in the vocals. I'll do all the processing stuff after. I'm kind of just winging this and kind of doing this as I go. What I can show you is the chorus. Break that down a bit. Oh, so actually, before I do the chorus, this was the original teaser audio, without James, of course, because there was no vocals at that point. So I literally just highlighted that one section of the song, exported it, threw it in a video. It's very simple. I believe we did that before we even tracked vocals, so I was just as teased, if that makes you feel any better. The chorus without the vocals. And for those wondering, the guitars are tuned to drop C. The top 4 lines here, so these guys here are like the rhythm guitars. So I track these, pan to the left, track these, pan to the right, and then repeat. And then the lead goes over top of it, and this is what the lead is. I'll play the chorus with just the lead guitars and the rest of the instruments without the rhythms. Again, not much going on, but when it all comes together, it sounds pretty cool. Kind of goes to show the importance of every little thing, even though it may not be doing much. It can all contribute. Sometimes less is more, and that's typically our approach. My approach, anyway, with the music side of things. I could speak for James as well with the vocals. Not trying to do too much. It starts to take away from the whole thing. Let's listen to the vocals here. So we have the melody here, accompanied by the harmonies, and again, doubling up the harmonies left and right.
What if I'm lost? What if I failed?
Here, we hear the scream.
Look at the mess that you made.
So this is a scream track. So at the second half of the first chorus here, I got him to scream basically every word that he was singing, to layer on top of the melody, and then the 2 harmonies. I automated those levels, brought the volume down a little bit just to make some room for the scream. Screams always sound a little funny when they're on their own.
My armor's rusted in the rain. Your fables tore me down to reconstruct my pain.
So second verse, very similar to the first one, goes right into the chorus. So before I play that, if you noticed, what he's singing is very similar to the pre-chorus. There's a variation in there of how he does the melody for a split second, but it's kind of just a circle back to that point, and then start the breakdown. So what I'll do is I'll play it. I guess I'll play it without vocals. So that's, both of these guys are on the left side, if you haven't picked up on that yet. So something cool there that's always, excuse me, stuck out or stood out. I guess that means the same thing. Is I guess I strummed the bass a little harder than the other parts, and some of it cut through, and it was the timing of it was perfect because it was just that part in the breakdown that was approaching this big build up to go into the clean part after that. I can isolate it so you hear what I mean. I'll keep one guitar on just so you know where in the song we're at. So this part here. Pretty cool. I like how sometimes accidents happen and they're cool and you end up keeping them. So, and after that is a pretty cool part. We bring the clean guitars back. We're doing the final chorus. So these clean guitars, basically think of it just as simple as it's the clean version of the chorus, which goes like this. Clean guitars are doing a few things. The rhythm just being this. So just open strumming, very simple. It's all simple, but and then we have this behind it. And then another cool layer that seems to peek its head out throughout this particular section. It kind of pokes its head in and out depending on the note. It's pretty cool as well. And I believe I just kind of improvised that when I recorded it. I knew that I wanted something else in there, and I knew kind of where on the fretboard I want it to be. So if it sounds like random notes I'm hitting, especially towards the end, it's because it is. So just the two layered pieces together. Anyway, brings us back to the overdrive guitars in the chorus. So that's that. Kind of a quick walkthrough. I can show you some processing. If you're more into the production side of things and how things sound, this is where it may get interesting for you, or it may not, but we'll go there. So this is what I'm looking at when I'm mixing. Start off with the main plugins I use. So for all of my guitars, clean and overdriven, I use Neural DSP, the Nolly plugin, super awesome. I never thought that I would go to a strictly software based guitar plugin or whatever. Like, I don't run microphones to amps and all that kind of stuff. It's literally just done. in the box here. So different than the way I used to do it, but I love the tones I get out of here, and kind of gives me some new inspiration and something else to learn, which is always fun. So there's different heads to choose from, different cabs, different mics, mic placement, all that kind of stuff. It's really cool stuff. These are my settings for the distorted guitars, and then with effects, I just have an overdrive pedal. My EQ, my onboard EQ here is, I literally just got rid of all like the sub frequencies, like the really low end stuff, because I knew that I would be doing some cutting outside of that as well. This is the cab I'm using, mics, mic placement, and then there is nothing on the tail end as far as effects go. So I run that, and then I run just another EQ just to boost the 6K range a little bit. And so all these are my overdrive guitars, hence the OD, meaning overdrive. I route them all to this bus here, a stereo bus, where I then compress them all as a whole. Fairly light compression, not much at all, just helps glue things together. And then another EQ, which is more cutting than anything, and kind of show you the frequency areas that I wanted to eliminate. Can show. So I got rid of this cricket sounding frequency. More of a frog sounding frequency. So all these little frequencies I heard. Obviously I went back and forth and A B'd it just to make sure I wasn't going crazy, but my ears didn't like what was here, so I cut that accordingly. And then I just cut off a bunch of the super high end of the band that is just not needed. Arguably, I could have done that as well with the low end, but as you may recall, when I was taking away some of the low end from the plugin itself, that actually looked like it did a pretty good job. I could have cut more now that I'm looking at it, but I didn't, and it still sounds okay, so whatever. Bass, just super fun. The bass has been especially fun. This is my bass plugin, another Neural DSP plugin, Dark Glass Ultra. It's a game changer for me. All my bass tones have always missed that grit, and this allows me to throw a little bit of drive on it, a little bit mild distortion, which is perfect for the music we're doing. Even if you may not be able to hear the distortion in the mix, listening to the song as a whole, it definitely helps the bass cut through the whole mix. So that's really, really cool. The signal chain there is just EQ right off the hop. Even though it's a bass guitar, still cut the low end. If I can shave every little bit of low end, I can shave off. Gives me more headroom to work with when it comes to the final stages of the mix and master. So that's how that works. Drums. The last few releases, I haven't been playing the drums. I've been programming them, and for a few reasons. One, I don't want to go and rent drums and rent a studio to go track drums and all that stuff. It's not. It's just more of a hassle than anything, and I'm very impatient. So when I start writing a song, I want to finish it. I don't really stop until it's done. So That's one reason. Second reason is for sonic purposes. I track drums. Like I played the drums on our Stronger When You Fight EP, and they turned out okay. But I just I just get better results, and that's obviously from lack of experience recording real drums and all that stuff. But and I still do. I mean, I've recorded a lot of bands and my own that we've used real drums, and they've turned out okay. But I don't know, for whatever reason, this particular band, I just like programming, so they just seem to sound better. I do. I have a bit of an unorthodox approach here to drums. What I do here is I map all the drums out, piece by piece, um, every note, note for note, including ghost notes, um, throughout the whole song. Then what I do is I will. Oh, by the way, so for mapping the songs out in writing purposes, I use Steven Slate drums. What I do then is I isolate the kick drum and I export it as a high quality WAV file, 24-bit WAV file. I then import it into its own track, and then what I do is I run Trigger, which is like a sampling plugin, and I add this, 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 and this. I do that. I do a bit of tuning, and then I mix the original kick sound with the new kick sound, and I get a much thicker, more satisfying tone out of it. So for example, I'll play just the drums here. So you can hear like the little ghost notes on the snare in between. So I do my best to make this as realistic as possible, and I also have a rule that I won't program anything that I cannot play myself. So, I make sure that if this needs to be recreated live, that I can play it. This is what it sounds like with the processing on it. And then without. So still sounds relatively good, but it's a little more thin. Don't love the actual kick tone itself. After I do what I do to it, it sounds a lot thicker, in my opinion. The kick drum, the signal chain is obviously trigger. This is the EQ for the kick. So I want a nice little high clicky sound to complement the low end, but I don't want it to be overpowering, and I don't like many things in this frequency range, to be quite honest with you. It's just I find this area to be bitey, and it's not a good time. This is just to give a little bit of that mid I don't know what you'd call it, like a knock, and roll off the low end here. The snare, very similar approach. Those tones mixed with the tones out of Steven Slate drums. Still, I would call that still light compression, just medium attack, medium release, nothing fancy, just to tame a bit. So my EQ, no cutting here obviously, it's just boosting. I didn't really roll off any low end. As you can see, it's kind of already like that out of the box, so I guess I could have taken a little more out of there to free some space up, but I didn't. And but whatever, it still sounds pretty cool. The vocals usually have the most processing, and it's not due to a poor performance or anything like that. It's just we want it to sit nice in the mix, and some cutting in the EQ, bussing with some compression to help glue things together. And that's that. So I guess what I can do, I'll show you the main part of the last chorus that we went through earlier.
What if I'm lost? What if I fail?
So that's obviously like a radio telephone type effect.
What if I'm lost?
So what I'll always do is run pitch correction on every vocal track except for screaming, and not because James needs it. It's kind of my go-to, whether people want to admit it or not. Every record you hear has got it in one form or another. But all it does is kind of clean up the sides. So this is the way I try and explain it. So as you can see here, without giving a lesson on it, all the notes highlighted in blue are the notes that he's allowed to hit in this key, which is C minor. The cool thing about this particular pitch corrector over other more in-depth ones is this particular one doesn't allow me to, drag his notes into the right notes and to make him flawless. In order for this particular pitch corrector to work, he needs to be in key of the song. So if he's singing a B when he should be singing, a G, you're gonna be able to tell that. Like there's no hiding it. So you have to be within a very small threshold between notes for this to work. And luckily, I have a singer that doesn't struggle with that kind of stuff. So again, this is just more or less to clean up and smooth things out a bit, make things more of a lock. So you can see I've basically cut all the low end, cut a bunch of the high end, and then just boosted the mids. This kind of gives it a radio effect.
What if I'm lost? What if I failed?
So if I didn't have that on, this is what it would sound like.
What if I'm lost? What if I failed?
My all-time favorite reverb, Pro R by FabFilter. So typically, I wouldn't go this heavy of a wet signal reverb, but again, this part of the song kind of called for it, so I did it. If we look at the chorus main vocals, a little bit more processing than normal here. Signal chain after the pitch corrector is the compressor. Right, so the compression for the chorus vocals, you'll be able to see here. It's a fairly aggressive compression. We'll see how much we're compressing here. There's that. After that, we have a de-esser. This does exactly what it says it does. It de-esses things. You'll see the wave file go through the plugin, and you'll notice where it's finding the S's and the F's and the P's and the T's and all these little harsh frequencies that pop through during a vocal performance. So I'll play it, and I'm sure we'll see a couple. Fairly basic EQ for the vocals. After that, it's a vocal doubler, not quite half of a wet signal. This is to kind of do what the plugin's saying it's going to do. So it just it helps widen your vocal and thicken it up a little bit. Helps it cut. Fresh Air by Steven Slate Digital. Super nice. It's just a nice. It just adds some clarity. High end. It's quite sensitive, so you'll notice here like 15% of the mid and 8% wet signal of the highs. Don't need a lot. Less is more for sure. This is a delay plugin, fairly low in the mix. Just helps again to cut, widen, all that fun stuff. And then reverb. Again, pretty low in the mix. Not a whole lot going on. And yeah, the two harmonies here, left and right, and then I run the melody and the two harmonies into a stereo bus of its own to add a little bit more compression as a group to help glue it all together. And I think that's it. I think that's kind of the song in a nutshell. So if you thought that was cool and you want to see more, let me know. And if you have any questions, maybe I missed something or whatever, or just leave a comment below and I will be sure to reply. Anyway, guys, yeah, thanks. Peace out.